So I originally wasn't going to take part in this presentation, but Brian and I discussed and decided that I'd speak for a few minutes as one of the founders of DXE about why we started this network, what makes us different, and what the future holds for all of us. And I want to leave you with 3 points, just 3 very simple points that should give you not just hope, but absolute confidence in the future of DXE, and more importantly, the future of the movement for animals. The first, DXE and the animal rights movement increasingly are strong. Not weak, but strong. Second, DXE is smart. Third, DXE is inspired. Strong, smart, and inspired. Start with the first one. The pioneering anti-slavery activist, Wayne Hsiung, who many of you probably heard me and Brian and others in DXE talk about, was once dragged through the streets of Boston and nearly lynched for daring to speak strongly against human slavery. He was a distinguished journalist at the time, but he lost his career as a journalist. He lost almost all of his white friends. He was thrown in prison, all for speaking in places where his words were unwelcome. But William Lloyd Garrison stayed strong in saying that every human being, no matter their race, no matter their culture, no matter their nationality, every human being deserves to be free. And because he stayed strong, he changed the world. The moral of the story is this. As activists, it is not our job to be popular, to be accommodating, or to tell people what they already want to hear. Our job is to speak as the animals would if they could. Our job is to cry out from every city, from every street corner, from every storefront, to tell people that all is not well in the land. Our job is not to ask, but to demand an end to the violence now. In short, our job is to be strong. And the strength that we have inspired at DXE is now spreading like wildfire. Huge non-profit organizations that historically were known for giving awards to animal abusers have now joined us in speaking out against the humane myth. Distinguished columnists and professors are beginning to question whether the enslavement of animals for food is coming to an end. And most important, ordinary people, just like you and me, have mobilized in over 110 cities and 25 countries across the world to disrupt violence and bring the animal stories to the places where they are most brutally silenced. In a word, we as a movement are finally ready to be strong. And that brings me to the second point. At DXE, we're not just strong, we're smart. So many of you who know my own personal activist biography probably know, for the first 7 years of my life as an activist, I did one primary form of activism: baking vegan cookies. I handed out over 15,000 of these cookies, literally, I counted them. 15,000 of these cookies that I personally baked over that 7-year period, and gave people information about veganism. I sat back and I waited for the vegan testimonials to stream in. After all, the cookies are delicious. Who's had them? They're good, right? Very good. But a funny thing happened at the University of Chicago after I handed all these cookies. Veganism declined over that same time period. The Vegan Society, which had been one of the largest RSOs on campus, almost died. So I'm looking at myself, I baked all these cookies. What's going on? What happened? Why are people changing the same way I changed? All I needed was a cookie and some information, and I changed instantly. What I was finding, and Missy, you're going to like this line, I was doing all that outreach, all those leaflets, and all those cookies, and nothing was working at all. The lesson I learned from that is that we have to be not just strong, but smart. And that is the second thing that makes DXE different. We don't rely on intuition and tradition. We have taken the latest research in social movements and applied it to the cause of animal rights. Sidney Terra, who Brian mentioned, on disruption. Erica Chenoweth, a sociologist and political scientist on nonviolence. Duncan Watts on social networks. These are all names you're going to hear we form. We've also learned from the most effective leaders in the history of social justice and taken their lessons into the streets. So leaders like Bernard Lafayette, whose methods you learned about yesterday at the nonviolence training. Bernard Lafayette was one of the founders of SNCC and the Civil Rights Movement. And because we are constantly adopting new methods, and because we're trying to be smart, we are constantly getting better. Every step of the way, we learn, we evolve, and we change. Because we know that to overcome the challenges of human supremacy, we must be not just strong, but smart. And that brings me to the third, and perhaps most important reason for my confidence in DXC. That we are inspired to change the world together. I've worked as an academic, as a lawyer, as a journalist, with Nobel Prize winners and award-winning journalists. I've worked with famous lawyers and CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. But in my life, I have never been a part of a community as brilliant and as inspired, as filled with passion, love, and integrity as I've seen with DXC. And this is how movements grow, through inspiring people just like each of you. DXC started in the Bay Area 2 years ago with 6 people, just 6 people, in a place of violence. But it's grown so much from those early days. To Christina, who went from growing up in a dairy farm in Denmark to building an incredible chapter in Copenhagen. To Missy, Nick, and Lola, who have created a diverse and loving community in Southern California, and one of the most challenging places to do animal rights activism in the country. Nick hates photos, so I didn't put him up here. If you want to see him, he's probably in here somewhere. Where are you now?
Right here.
So if you want to see him, come up front. To Zach in New Haven, who's transformed a remote city in Connecticut into one of the leading lights for animals on the East Coast. To Araceli in Chicago, who helped build a chapter from just 3 people in a Chipotle into a true community for animals. To Almira and the team in Vancouver, who have built alliances and coalitions and garnered incredible support and solidarity for animals across movements. And finally to Katie in Tucson, who persevered through incredible challenges and criticism to build one of the most inspiring and confident chapters in our entire network. I think it's Zach who said that, good God, if I were an animal abuser and Katie and Tucson were coming after me, I'd be scared. And Katie, I gotta tell you, I feel exactly the same way, and I'm glad you're on our team. There's so many other names I could mention, so many other people to acknowledge, but instead, I want to leave you with this quote from Margaret Mead. And many of you may know this quote because it's the introduction to a video we made called One Voice. The quote goes like this: "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." So as we start this forum, I want you to look around you at the activists seated next to you. Seriously, stop and look around right now. Introduce yourself if you don't know somebody. So stop and look around. Meet the people around you. Continue to engage them over the next 4 days. Stop and look around. Remember who you see, and then ask yourself, do you have any doubt that we will win? When I see people like the people I see in this room, I don't have any doubt at all. And when people ask me, why DXC? I answer, first, because we are strong for a cause that is desperately in need of strength. Second, because we are smart in a world that requires us to constantly evolve and learn and change to be effective for animals. And third, and most importantly, because we have some of the most amazing people on the face of this planet. And we are inspired to change the world together. We are strong, we are smart, and we are inspired. And together, we will forge the path to animal liberation. Thank you.